The phone vibrates on the kitchen counter, but she doesn't need to look to know what it is. The notifications flood in, a parade of reminders about the reunion tonight. Her stomach twists as she scrolls, her eyes widening in disbelief. There it is, the invitation, glowing and clear, for everyone she's known since high school. Everyone, except her thumb hovers over the screen, trembling. She reads the names again and again, hoping for a miracle. But it isn't there. Her own name is nowhere, just a reunion. Dad says from the living room, voice casual as if the universe's cruelty is nothing more than a triviality. Her laughter is sharp, bitter, echoing against the walls of the small apartment. Just a reunion? She whispers, voice trembling. Not mine, apparently. The sting settles deep, coiling around her ribs, squeezing her chest until it hurts to breathe. She paces the hardwood floor, each step a drumbeat of indignation and sadness. How long had she expected to be invisible? Was this the first time, or merely the first time she noticed? She stops by the window, watching the city lights blink and flicker, each one a story unfolding somewhere else. She imagines the reunion, her classmates laughing, sharing secrets, revisiting old romances. A hollow ache spreads through her chest. Her hands clench into fists. Then, almost impulsively, she decides. If they don't want her, she'll make her own. Her own reunion. Her own celebration. Something that belongs entirely to her Dot. She grabs her laptop and begins searching for venues. The screen is a blur as she scrolls through hall after hall, comparing lighting, capacity, ambience. She wants something intimate yet lively, a space that can hold music, laughter, and possibility. One hall catches her eye. Soft golden light spilling through high windows, polished floors, a balcony that overlooks the street. She pictures the music, the chatter, the decorations she'll set up herself. This, she whispers to herself. This is mine. The call to the hall manager is brief but decisive. I want to rent the hall next door. For a private reunion. Her voice carries a mix of pride and nervous energy. You're renting. For a reunion? The manager asks, surprised. Yes, she says firmly. Exactly that. She hangs up, heart pounding, a mixture of thrill and relief surging through her. She's done. She's taken control. For the first time, she feels like she's shaping her own story rather than being left out of someone else's. Her mind wanders involuntarily. Him, the one whose smile had lingered, far longer than it should have. Years have passed, as she hasn't seen him since graduation. Yet even now, the memory of his laughter, the warmth of his eyes, it all flares inside her chest, like a flame she thought had burned out. Would he know about her haul? Would he even come? She paces again, restless, imagining the laughter bouncing off the walls, strangers mingling, friends discovering a night that's hers and hers alone. The scent of flowers she place on the tables, the glow of lanterns hung with care. The night feels cinematic, surreal, and alive. Doubt creeps in, thin and cold. What if no one comes? What if the hall is empty, the echoes of her own courage bouncing back mockingly? She shakes her head, refusing to let fear steal her excitement. This night is for her a rebellion against exclusion, a reclamation of agency. Her gaze shifts back to the window. The hall next door, visible through the thin walls separating the buildings, seems like a stage waiting for its audience. She imagines herself entering, standing tall, poised, yet carrying a trace of vulnerability in her eyes. Maybe someone will notice. Maybe someone will see the fire, the heart that has never stopped hoping. The phone buzzes again, an innocuous reminder of the hall booking, but she smiles at the timing. A sign, perhaps, or a little cosmic joke. Either way, it feels like permission to dream. Her thoughts linger on Dad's dismissive words. Just a reunion. It stings, but it also ignites a stubborn spark inside her. She isn't invisible. She isn't nothing. Not tonight. Tonight, she is visible, radiant, unstoppable. Moving to the balcony, she looks down at the streets below. The city hums with life car lights weaving patterns, pedestrians moving like clockwork, 1,000 stories unfolding simultaneously. Somewhere out there, her classmates are laughing, probably oblivious to the storm of determination she's igniting in herself. And yet, she feels power. This night belongs to her. Every note of laughter, every flicker of light, every heartbeat inside the hall. The air feels thick with possibility. Her chest swells with the thrill of what could come. Little does she know, on the other side of the thin wall separating her hall from the original reunion, someone else is watching, curiosity sparking in their eyes. Recognition flares in the corner of their gaze, as if fate itself has begun to orchestrate a collision of paths that were meant to intersect. Soft knock on her apartment door jolts her from her reverie. Her heartbeat accelerates. Who would come at this hour? She approaches the door cautiously, hand trembling slightly as she twists the knob. Her breath catches, anticipation and anxiety blending in a potent mix. The door creaks open, and a shadow fills the frame. She freezes, unsure whether to step back or forward. Whoever it is, friend, stranger, or old flame, the night has officially begun. And then the figure steps into the light. Her breath catches, heart pounding violently. It's someone she never expected to see, someone whose presence could change the trajectory of everything she's planned. The tension in the room is almost tangible, a quiet hum that buzzes in her ears. She wants to speak, to demand an explanation, but words fail her. All she can do is stare, caught between shock, anticipation, and an unfamiliar warmth that spreads through her chest. Outside, the city continues its hum, indifferent to the small drama unfolding in a quiet apartment. But inside, everything has shifted. The night is alive, charged with possibilities, with danger, and with the thrill of hearts on the verge of collision. Her eyes flicker to the hall next door, glowing faintly in the distance. It promises laughter, connections, memories, and perhaps even romance. But first, she must navigate the storm that has just appeared at her doorstep. The hall door swings open, and she steps inside, her heels clicking softly against the polished wooden floor. The space is more beautiful than she remembered from the photos. Soft golden light spills from elegant chandeliers, bouncing off the mirrored walls, creating a warm, intimate glow. Dust motes drift lazily in the air, caught in the streams of sunlight that pierce through tall windows. She walks slowly, letting her fingers graze the smooth surface of the polished railing along the balcony. It feels surreal, like stepping into a story she's always imagined but never lived. Each step is deliberate, her heels echoing against the emptiness, as if announcing her presence to the hall itself. Memories rush in unbidden. She recalls the laughter in classrooms, the whispered secrets under autumn trees, the crush she never dared to acknowledge. A pang of nostalgia hits her, bitter and sweet, mingling with the thrill of control she feels now. Here, in her hall, she's both architect and observer of the night to come. Her thoughts wander to the old classmates she's never truly forgiven, those who mocked, excluded, or betrayed her. She feels a twinge of anger, sharp as a shard of glass, but it is tempered by the excitement humming beneath her skin. This hall is hers. Tonight, she will shape the story. As she moves to the center of the hall, her gaze drifts toward the stage area. She imagines the tables lined with candles and flowers, music floating through the space, laughter mingling with the soft clink of glasses. The thought makes her chest swell with a strange, sweet anticipation. Maybe this night isn't just about exclusion after all. It might be about discovery, about reclamation. A soft noise from behind startles her. She turns sharply, heart racing, and freezes. He's there, standing near the entrance, tall and composed, yet awkward in that familiar way that makes her stomach flip. She hasn't seen him in years, not since graduation, and yet, in that instant, time folds. The distance of years collapses into a single breathless moment. "Hey," he says, voice low, careful, like he's testing the waters. "I didn't expect this." She swallows, caught between surprise and a flicker of something she can't name. "Neither did I," she admits, her voice softer than intended, betraying her controlled composure. But her fingers tighten on the railing, and she hesitates. "I needed this." Needed. A space that's mine. He nods slowly, eyes taking in the hall, then her. There's a pause, a quiet tension hanging between them, as if unspoken years of curiosity, regret, and attraction are compressed into a single heartbeat. "I see that," he murmurs. "And it's perfect." His gaze lingers, and she feels it like a warm current threading through her chest, stirring memories she thought had faded. The awkwardness melts into something almost tangible, a quiet electricity that hums between them. She's aware of every detail, the way his hair falls slightly over his forehead, the subtle curve of his smile, the gentle intensity of his eyes. Her pulse quickens, a mixture of nostalgia, excitement, and longing. They begin to walk through the hall together, footsteps synchronized in a rhythm that feels accidental yet intentional. Her mind flashes to the past, stolen glances in hallways, whispered jokes that only they understood, the subtle tension of attraction neither dared to confront. And now, here they are years later, in a hall she claims as her own, rediscovering that same quiet pull. "This is really beautiful," he says, gesturing toward the balcony that overlooks the street. "I can see why you chose it." "I wanted something intimate," she replies, smiling despite herself. "A place that feels alive, but safe. Somewhere I can breathe." Her gaze drifts to him, and for a moment, the words feel insufficient. There's so much more she wants to say, but fear of awkwardness keeps them locked in her chest. He studies her, and she can see the unspoken thoughts reflected in his eyes' curiosity, admiration, something warmer, something hesitant. "I didn't think I'd see you here," he admits. "I wasn't expecting." "You see?" Her laugh is soft, a little nervous, but it carries a note of relief. "Neither did I," she repeats, though this time with more conviction. "But maybe that's a good thing." They stop near the stage, and she gestures toward the empty space, imagining it filled with music and laughter. "This is going to be my sanctuary," she says, voice firm now, eyes bright. "No one gets to dictate the night but me." He nods, understanding, yet there's a shadow of doubt in his expression. "And what if no one comes?" His question hangs in the air, heavier than the chandeliers above. She smiles faintly, a mix of defiance and hope. "Then I'll dance alone," she says, almost laughing at her own audacity. "But maybe someone will. Maybe someone will see this space the way I do." A silence follows, pregnant with possibility. Neither moves. The hall stretches around them, vast and waiting, and yet, in that quiet, she feels a strange intimacy with him. It's a bridge between years lost, a moment suspended outside of time. Suddenly, a small noise from the balcony startles them, a shutter closing, a distant echo from the street below. Her pulse leaps. He glances toward the sound, and she notices the tension creeping back into his posture, the protective instinct in his movements. "You're not afraid?" he asks softly, turning to her. She shrugs, heart pounding. "A little," she admits, "but mostly excited. Excited for what could happen, for what might find me tonight." He smiles then, that slow, almost shy smile at once made her heart race in corridors and classrooms. I want to see that, he says. I want to see you in your element. To see what this night becomes. Through your eyes. Their eyes meet, and it's like a spark ignites something dormant in both of them. The tension between them is palpable, a fragile thread of attraction, curiosity, an unspoken history that could snap or grow stronger with each passing second. She turns back toward the center of the hall, imagining the lights, the laughter, the music she will curate. He follows her, and the space feels charged, alive, as if their presence alone has awakened it. The air is thick with anticipation, and she feels her chest tighten, not with fear this time, but with possibility. Memories of old heartbreaks, silent crushes, and unfulfilled promises swirl in her mind, mingling with the thrill of this new, unexpected connection. And then, just as she begins to feel the weight of the moment lift, her phone buzzes. A notification flashes on the screen, another reminder of the hall next door. A ping of reality amid the cinematic tension. She glances at him, and for a moment, the world narrows to just the two of them, the hall stretching endlessly around them, empty yet brimming with potential. Night falls, and the city stretches beneath a blanket of soft lights. The two halls, her carefully curated sanctuary, and the reunion she wasn't invited to stand side by side, separated by a thin brick wall. The hum of chatter, laughter, and music drifts through the air, faint but unmistakable. It's a world that once belonged to her, yet now feels foreign, and a tiny thrill of rebellion pulses through her veins. She moves toward the window at the end of the hall, where sheer curtains sway with a breeze that carries the distant scent of street flowers. She peers outside, just for a moment, letting her gaze drift toward the hall next door. Her eyes catch movement, someone glancing toward her hall. A heartbeat later, their eyes meet through the glass dot. It's him. A flicker of recognition passes between them, sharp and electric. Neither speaks, yet the weight of unspoken words hangs in the space between them, thick as smoke. He tilts his head slightly, and her chest tightens with a strange, heady combination of excitement and nervousness. She catches herself smiling, despite herself, and he mirrors it. A subtle tilt of the head, a soft curve of his lips, and suddenly the night is charged, alive with possibilities neither of them can name. You're really here, she whispers, almost to herself, though part of her suspects he can hear her. His eyes crinkle, a ghost of the smile she remembers from years ago. Seems so, he murmurs, voice low, intimate. I didn't think we'd end up here, like this. She bites her lip, trying to contain the surge of emotion that threatens to spill over. Me neither, she admits, but maybe it's a good thing. The music and laughter from the other hall swell, a reminder of all the faces, all the histories that hover just beyond reach. Her eyes meet his again, and in that fleeting moment, the world outside the glass walls falls away. She sees him clearly, not the boy from years ago, but the man who is aged, who has lived, who is as complicated as she is. For a heartbeat, she considers leaning closer to the window, letting the air between them carry their words. But insecurity tugs at the edge of her courage. Memories of high school, the teasing, the whispers, the silent judgments, creep into her chest, tightening it with old fear. She straightens abruptly, heart racing. He tilts his head, as if sensing her hesitation. You're hesitant, he says softly. But I get it. I've felt it too. The ghosts of old mistakes, the weight of what-ifs. Her breath catches. The honesty in his voice, the vulnerability, tugs at her own carefully guarded heart. She wants to reach through the glass, to bridge the invisible distance, but she's acutely aware of the history that separates them. And yet, something is changing. Something subtle, almost imperceptible, flickers in the way he smiles, the way his eyes linger. A tension simmers, A quiet electricity that promises more than fleeting attention. She turns away from the window, pacing the hall with restless energy. Her fingers trace the edge of a table, linger over a chair, absorbing the tangible reality of her creation. The hall is hers, but it has suddenly become more than that. It's a stage, a liminal space where past and present collide, where old sparks might ignite new flames. A small knock on the hall door pulls her attention. Her pulse quickens. Could it be him? She walks slowly toward the sound, each step deliberate, her heartbeat echoing like a drum in her ears. When she opens it, no one is there. Only the faint rustle of the wind carrying the echo of laughter from the other hall. She closes the door, leaning against it with a sigh, half relieved, half disappointed. And then, from the corner of her eye, she catches a flicker of movement through the window again. He's there, watching. Her lips part, and she opens her mouth to call out, but stops herself. Pride, old insecurities, and the thrill of the unknown hold her back. Instead, she lets her gaze linger, letting the unspoken conversation stretch across the space between them. Minutes pass. Words are unnecessary. Each glance, each subtle movement carries weight. Every smile is a promise, every tilt of the head a question. They are playing a game of distance, where proximity is measured in inches and the tension is palpable. She recalls the first time she noticed him years ago, his easy laugh, the way he tilted his head when he listened, the quiet intensity of his gaze. All of it comes rushing back, raw and vivid. Her pulse quickens as if her heart remembers, even when her mind tries to reason it away. Suddenly, the music in her hall shifts, a slow, romantic melody drifting through the space. She pauses, letting the notes wash over her, and feels an unexpected pull toward the window again. She moves closer, heart pounding, and finds him mirroring her, drawn toward the same invisible tether. "You're always this dramatic?" he murmurs, a teasing edge in his voice. "Even after all these years?" She smirks, a little breathless. "Only when I'm caught off guard," she admits, heart hammering at the closeness of their unspoken connection. He laughs softly, that familiar sound that once made her stomach flutter. "I see. Well, I guess some things never change." The night deepens, the streets below glowing faintly under scattered lamplight. The thin brick wall between the halls seems to pulse with unspoken energy. It's almost a tangible presence, a barrier and a bridge all at once. She can feel the heat of the moment pressing against her chest, and she wonders, if she reached out, would he catch her? Would he even try? She catches a glimpse of movement behind him, a shadow of another guest from the other hall. Her pulse quickens. Could he be noticing her too? Or is this just a private moment, theirs alone, carved into the space between brick and glass? The thrill of forbidden's attention, the quiet electricity of mutual curiosity, creates a tension she has never felt so acutely. Every glance, every small smile, carries the weight of possibility. She wants to speak, to bridge the distance, but the words remain lodged in her throat. Then, as if sensing the unspoken, he raises a hand slightly, a tentative gesture toward the window. She mirrors him instinctively, fingertips almost touching the glass that separates them. The distance is infinitesimal, yet it feels insurmountable. "You're incredible," he says softly, eyes locked on hers, voice almost reverent. "Even now I can't look away." Her breath catches. The heat in her chest spreads, mingling with adrenaline and longing. She wants to reach out, to cross the barrier, to claim what has flickered between them all these years. But she hesitates. Past grudges, the fear of rejection, the uncertainty of tonight, it all presses down on her, holding her hand from moving forward. A sudden burst of laughter from the other hall breaks the fragile spell. She flinches, and he glances back at the sound, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. She can see it: hesitation, uncertainty, the shadow of past insecurities threatening the delicate connection forming. Yet even in that moment, the pull remains. Their eyes meet once more, electric and insistent. The sparks between them refuse to be ignored, refusing to fade despite distance, doubt, and fear. The night is alive with murmurs and laughter, but outside, the sky darkens rapidly. She glances toward the windows, just as the first fat drops of rain splatter against the glass. Within moments, the drizzle turns into a heavy downpour, drumming against the roof and spilling into puddles that glint under the streetlights. Her heart flutters at the sudden shift. Rain has a way of stirring memories, of washing away facades and forcing raw emotions to the surface. She watches as the guests from both halls rush to cover, umbrellas and coats flapping like tiny sails in the chaos outside. "Looks like we're trapped for a while," he says, stepping up beside her at the window. His voice is calm, steady, but there's a teasing curve in his lips. She turns, heart skipping. "Trapped?" she asks, feigning irritation, though a small smile tugs at her lips. "I think that's just fate giving us a little push." He laughs softly, low and rich, and she feels it vibrate somewhere inside her chest. "Fate, huh? Or maybe just bad weather." She tilts her head, letting him study her. The glow from the chandeliers bounces off her hair, framing her face in a halo of warm light. Her pulse quickens, though she doesn't know if it's the closeness, the shared history, or the rain lashing the city outside. Perhaps it's all three. "I always hated rain," she admits quietly, almost to herself. "It reminds me of things I couldn't change, people I let slip away." He looks at her then, eyes softening. "You mean first loves? Lost chances?" His tone isn't teasing now. It's gentle, probing, sincere. She laughs softly, the sound fragile and hesitant. "Something like that. It's funny, isn't it? How a few drops of water can drag memories from the corners of your mind." He leans closer, and she can smell the faint scent of his cologne, woodsy, comforting, familiar. "Not funny," he corrects softly. "Powerful. Sometimes the past is closer than we think. And tonight, it feels like it's breathing right beside us." Her eyes meet his, and for a long moment, the chatter and music in the hall fade into the background. The rain outside becomes a rhythmic heartbeat, a steady pulse drawing them toward each other. A sudden commotion pulls her attention. Two guests collide near the doorway, umbrellas clattering, laughter spilling into the hall. She shakes her head, amusement curling in her chest, and steps back from the window. And then it happens. Their hands brush. It's accidental, a fleeting touch as she steps past him to adjust a chair. But the spark is instantaneous, electric, a jolt that shoots from her fingers straight to her heart. She freezes, chest tight, unsure whether to pull away or lean closer. He doesn't move either. Instead, he tilts his head, eyes darkening with something she can't quite name: desire, recognition, longing, and their hands remain a breath apart, separated by a whisper of air, yet connected in a way that words could never capture. "You?" she begins, voice trembling slightly, and then stops, afraid to shatter the fragile tension. "You what?" he asks softly, leaning fractionally closer. The air between them shimmers with unspoken possibilities, each second stretching longer than the last. "You just," she exhales sharply, searching for words. "You make it impossible to pretend the past didn't exist." He smiles, slow, deliberate, and it hits her like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. "I was hoping you felt the same," he admits, "because I've been replaying it. Every memory, every glance, almost." Her stomach flips. Almost. The word hangs like a fragile bridge between them, full of all the unspoken confessions, the dreams left unsaid, The doors never opened. The rain intensifies outside, thrumming against the windows, washing the city in silvery streaks. It's mesmerizing, a private show of nature's power, and she feels an urge to step closer to it, to let herself be cleansed along with the streets below. Do you ever regret it? She asks softly, almost a whisper. Everything we didn't say? Everything we didn't do? He takes a breath, and she can see the flicker of vulnerability in his eyes. Sometimes, he admits, but I think those regrets brought us here. Right now. And maybe that's more important than the past. Her heart tightens. The words are comforting, but they're also terrifying. They promise possibility, but they also remind her that nothing is simple, that the past has a way of clawing back, of reminding you of old wounds. A crack of thunder shakes the windows, startling her. She laughs softly, nervously, as she leans back against the wall. You make storms sound like romance, she teases, trying to mask the tremor in her chest. He laughs too, a sound that fills the hall, warm and resonant. Maybe that's because they are, he says, stepping closer, their shadows merging in the chandelier's glow. Storms and rain. They wash everything away. They make space for new beginnings. And maybe? His voice drops, soft, intimate, almost too close. Maybe that's what tonight is for us. She swallows hard, heart racing, eyes locked on his. Every instinct screams to close the distance, to let herself fall into the warmth of his presence. But caution tugs at her. Years of hurt, of insecurity, of watching love slip through her fingers, keep her rooted in place. And yet, the brush of his hand, the quiet intensity of his gaze, the rain hammering against the world outside, they all pull her toward him. Her chest tightens with anticipation, with fear, with something achingly familiar that she can't quite name. A gust of wind rattles the windows, and a shiver runs down her spine. He notices and steps closer, tentatively, bridging the small gap between them. Their shoulders brush lightly, and for a moment, the world narrows to just the two of them, the rain and the dim golden light of the hall. I don't want this night to end, he says softly. Not like this. Not with everything unsaid. She bites her lip, torn between caution and desire. Neither do I, she admits, voice trembling. But what if we let the past come back to haunt us? He tilts his head, thoughtful, a small smile playing at the corners of his lips. Then we face it, together. Her chest tightens, and the electricity between them hums in sync with the rain outside. The hall feels alive now, charged with tension, possibility, and something fragile yet fierce, moments suspended between past, regrets and future promise. The door to the balcony creaks open slightly with the wind, and she glances out. Rainwater glistens on the cobblestones below, streetlights reflecting in puddles like liquid gold. The night is both beautiful and terrifying, a perfect mirror of the storm stirring inside her. Come with me, he says suddenly, voice low, almost coaxing. Just for a moment, let's see this world together. Her heart pounds violently. She hesitates, torn between instinct and reason. The temptation is almost unbearable, the pull of rain, the warmth of his presence, the lure of possibilities that have whispered through the years. She takes a deep breath, allowing herself a small, decisive step forward. He mirrors her, closing the gap, and their hands brush again, intentionally this time, fingers intertwining. The shock waves of contact ripple through her, sending warmth and fear, excitement and uncertainty, coursing through every nerve. Outside, the rain continues to fall, relentless and cleansing, a drumbeat echoing the chaos and thrill of emotions within the hall. Memories of first loves, lost chances, whispered confessions, and unfulfilled longings swirl together, tangled with the new. Fragile sparks between them dot, and for a moment, She allows herself to forget everything else, the exclusions, the past hurts, the thin wall separating her from the other hall, and just exist in the raw, unguarded present with him. The hall glows in warm, golden light, casting long shadows that dance along the walls like silent witnesses to the night. Candles flicker on every table, their flames trembling with each subtle draft. The rain has slowed to a soft drizzle, leaving behind the scent of wet pavement and blossoms that cling to the night air. She stands near the center of the hall, letting her fingers trace the edge of a table, heart still thudding from the rainstorm and the fleeting contact moments ago. He approaches from across the room, steps quiet, deliberate. The way he moves feels familiar, yet new, as though time has tempered him, added layers to the boy she once knew. Their eyes meet, and the electricity between them pulses stronger than before. "I'm glad you stayed," he says, voice low, carrying a softness that makes her chest tighten. She looks down for a moment, tugging a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I wasn't going to leave," she admits. "Not after." "What just happened?" Her voice wavers slightly, betraying the calm she's trying to project. He steps closer, and the space between them shrinks until it feels almost unbearable. "What happened," he murmurs, "was more than just a brush of hands. I've felt it too. For years, even when I tried to deny it." Her pulse accelerates. The confession hangs in the air, fragile yet weighty, threatening to tip everything into a new realm. She swallows hard. "I didn't know you felt the same," she whispers. "I thought I imagined it, or that it was just nostalgia." He shakes his head slowly, the candlelight glinting in his eyes. "It wasn't nostalgia. Not for me. Every laugh, every glance, every almost, it stayed with me. And tonight, seeing you here, it's like the years collapsed into a single moment." Her fingers tremble slightly as she reaches out, brushing his hand again, intentionally this time. A spark ignites at the contact, sending warmth radiating through her. "I guess," she says softly, "we've both been holding on to something we couldn't fully understand before." He closes his eyes for a brief second, as if savoring the moment, then opens them to meet hers. "And now?" he asks, voice low, intimate. "Now that we understand?" Her lips part, hesitating. Words seem inadequate, yet the longing inside her demands expression. "Now, I don't want to let it go," she admits. "Not tonight, not ever, if I can help it." A slow smile spreads across his face, tinged with relief and desire. "Neither do I," he says. He steps closer, brushing a loose lock of her hair behind her ear, his fingers grazing her skin. The sensation is electric, almost unbearable in its intensity. They drift toward the center of the hall, where the golden light seems to embrace them, isolating them from the rest of the world. Every step feels like a negotiation with fate, a careful dance between desire and restraint. "I never told anyone," she says quietly, eyes fixed on the floor, voice barely audible. "About the way I felt? About you? I thought it was just me being foolish." His hand finds hers, fingers intertwining naturally, the connection firm yet tender. "I know," he whispers. "And I should have said something too. But I was scared, and I didn't know how." She lifts her gaze, meeting his with raw honesty. "It's funny," she says, voice trembling slightly, "how fear can keep you from the things that could change your life. And now, we're here, and I don't want to waste another second." He smiles softly, brushing his thumb across her knuckles. "Then don't." The music in the background shifts, a slow, sultry melody that fills the hall with warmth and intimacy. He takes her hand fully, guiding her into a slow, tentative dance. Her breath catches in her throat as they move together, bodies close but not yet touching fully. the rhythm of their movements echoing the rhythm of their hearts. "You feel different," she murmurs, voice low, leaning slightly into him. "More. Real. More." Now, he tilts his head, letting the candlelight illuminate his expression, vulnerable yet confident. "Because you are. Because this us, it's real. It always was. We just didn't see it until now." Her chest tightens at his words. Memories flash through her mind, the long walks, the shared glances, the almost confessions, the heartbreak of missed opportunities. And now, standing here with him in her arms, it feels like all those moments were merely leading to this one. The closeness ignites a fire she can't control. Her fingers tighten around his hand, seeking reassurance, seeking connection, seeking him. He responds in kind, leaning closer, and she feels the warmth of his breath, the subtle heat radiating from his body. "I need to know," he says softly, voice almost a whisper against her ear, "that this isn't just a fleeting moment, that we're willing to take the risk." Her heart pounds, emotions swirling like a tempest. "I am," she admits, voice firm despite the tremor. "I've spent too long holding back, too long wondering what if. But now," her gaze locks with his, "now I'm ready." A silence stretches between them, filled only by the music and the flickering candlelight. Every nerve seems attuned to the other, every heartbeat synchronized. And in that suspended moment, the world outside the golden-lit hall ceases to exist. But then, a shadow flickers in the corner of the hall, drawing her attention. She glances toward the doorway and freezes. Someone from the other hall has arrived unexpectedly, glancing toward them. Their intrusion is small, silent, yet it carries the weight of the outside world crashing back into this fragile bubble. He notices her hesitation, eyes following hers. "It doesn't matter," he murmurs, voice low but insistent. "Not tonight. Not here. Not us." Yet the moment has shifted. The sudden intrusion reminds her that reality lurks just beyond the golden lights, waiting to test the fragile bond forming between them. Their confession, their closeness, their newfound vulnerability, everything now has consequences that could unravel in an instant. Chest tightens with fear and exhilaration, and she swallows hard. "I know," she whispers. "But what if it does?" He leans closer, forehead resting lightly against hers, eyes dark with desire and tenderness. Then we face it, together. The candlelight dances across their faces, highlighting the raw emotion and desire etched into every line. The music swells, echoing the rhythm of their hearts, and for a moment it feels like the world has contracted to the warmth of this golden-lit hall. Her fingers tremble, brushing against his jaw, tracing the contours of a face she has dreamed of, feared and longed for over countless years. His hands find her waist, firm yet gentle, drawing her closer, bridging the space that has separated them for so long. The tension between vulnerability and desire, confession and consequence, desire and fear, hangs in the air, electric and impossible to ignore. The hall buzzes with chatter, clinking glasses, and the soft hum of music, but beneath the surface, tension simmers. She moves slowly through the room, drink in hand, careful to avoid old faces that still hold the power to wound. Memories of high school swirl like shadows, snide comments, whispered gossip, alliances forged and broken. She spots him across the room, leaning against a pillar, casually charming, yet alert. His gaze finds hers instantly, a magnetic pull that draws her despite the chaos. She smiles lightly, a private acknowledgement of the unspoken connection they share. But her stomach twists as she notices a group of former classmates eyeing them with thinly veiled curiosity. "Seems like everyone's watching tonight," she murmurs. Approaching him, he smirks, running a hand through his hair. "Some things never change," he replies, voice low, protective. High school rivalries, petty judgments. They cling. She sighs, pressing her lips together. And here I thought I left all that behind. He tilts his head, eyes scanning the crowd. It's never really behind you, he says softly. It just waits for the right moment to resurface. Before she can respond, a voice calls out sharply from across the room. Well, look who finally decided to show up. Her stomach drops. One of her old classmates, someone who thrived on stirring trouble, stands there, eyebrows arched, lips curved in a smirk that doesn't reach her eyes. Behind her, others whisper, snickering at the subtle tension. Ignore them, he murmurs, stepping closer. His presence is a shield, firm yet tender, and she leans slightly into him. She nods, taking a deep breath. I'm trying, she says quietly, but her voice trembles. The echoes of past judgments are loud tonight, threatening to drown out the fragile sparks of connection she's cultivated in these past few hours. Her former tormentor saunters closer, clearly enjoying the discomfort. I see some things never change. The voice drips with condescension. Still playing the perfect host, still trying to act like you're better than everyone else. She clenches her glass, knuckles whitening, and he squeezes her hand gently, a silent reminder that she's not alone. Let it roll off, he murmurs. They can't touch what's real between us, but reality has a way of infiltrating even the most intimate moments. Rumors, half-truths, and old jealousy begin to swirl, murmurs ricocheting off the walls, forming an invisible barrier around them. She can feel eyes darting, whispers coiling around her chest like a noose. She starts struggling for words. I didn't expect this. He tilts his head, eyes darkening with concern. I know, and I hate that it's happening tonight. You deserve to feel safe, to enjoy this. She swallows, nodding, but it's impossible to ignore the sting. Every laugh from the other hall, every sideways glance, reminds her of the walls they've built around themselves, of the fear of being judged, of the heartbreak of being misunderstood. A sudden shift in energy catches her off guard. A former friend, someone who had drifted apart, but always carried a hint of lingering resentment, steps forward. You think you can just ignore the past? The voice hisses. You can't just erase years of history. She falters, the words slicing through her resolve. He steps in immediately, placing himself slightly in front of her. A protective barrier of presence. History doesn't define us, he says, firm but calm. And right now, this moment, what we feel, it's ours. Let that matter. Her chest tightens, a mixture of relief and lingering anxiety. The hall feels suffocating and expansive at the same time, each corner echoing with whispers and judgment. But amidst it all, he's here, anchoring her, reminding her that what they share can exist despite the ghosts of their past. Thank you, she whispers, voice barely audible, leaning slightly into his shoulder. For not letting them ruin this. He tilts his head, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. You don't need thanks, he murmurs. You just need to trust that some things are worth protecting. She closes her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of his words seep in. But even as the tension eases slightly, doubt lingers. Every glance from a familiar face, every whispered comment, reminds her that the past is never fully gone. It waits, patient and persistent, ready to test the foundation they're building tonight. You have a way of making chaos feel manageable, she admits quietly, opening her eyes to meet his gaze. Even when the world seems intent on reminding me of old mistakes, he smiles softly, the kind that reaches his eyes and warms her from the inside out. That's because I know what's real, he says, voice low, intimate. And what we have, it's stronger than any echoes of the past. Her heart tightens at his words. The warmth spreads through her, a mixture of hope and desire, yet fear lingers at the edges. But what if they won't let us? She asks, almost a whisper. What if everyone else has already made up their minds? He leans closer, forehead resting lightly against hers, eyes searching hers with intensity. Then we show them, he says softly, by staying true, by holding on to what we know is right between us. No rumor, no jealousy, no history can take that away if we don't let it. A fragile smile tugs at her lips, a small spark of courage igniting. I want to believe that, she admits. I want to believe in us, even if the past keeps trying to pull me back. He squeezes her hand gently, reassuringly. Then believe, he says, because tonight we're choosing this moment, choosing each other, and that's all that matters. But just as the tension begins to lift, a sudden interruption shatters the fragile bubble they've created. From the other side of the hall, a familiar voice, one she never wanted to hear tonight, calls out, sharp and accusatory. I knew it. I knew you two would find a way to get close again. The room stills for a heartbeat. Conversations falter, and all eyes turn toward them. A wave of murmurs, judgment, and curiosity crashes into their haven, threatening to undo the delicate connection they've been nurturing. She swallows hard, heart pounding, and he squeezes her hand, their fingers entwining in silent solidarity. The warmth of his presence is a shield, yet the weight of the moment presses against her chest like a storm. The echoes of the past have returned with full force, a reminder that history is never truly gone, and that love, even in its most honest, raw form, cannot exist untouched by the world around it. The music from the main hall fades into a distant hum, replaced by the soft echo of their footsteps on the polished wooden floor. She leads him through a narrow corridor, away from the laughter, whispers, and judgment of the crowd. The golden light from the chandeliers spills unevenly here, casting half of their faces in shadow and the other half in warmth. This is quiet, she murmurs, voice soft, almost reverent. I didn't even know this hallway existed. He chuckles softly, a low, rumbling sound that sends a shiver down her spine. I guess some things are meant to be discovered in private, he replies, eyes glinting with intent. Her heart pounds, a mixture of anticipation and something she can't quite name. Each step seems to shorten the distance between them, each glance heavier, charged with unspoken words and restrained longing. They stop near a window, the night stretching endlessly beyond the glass. The city lights shimmer in the wet streets below, reflections winking like stars caught in puddles. She leans slightly against the sill, the coolness of the glass grounding her as his presence presses closer. I don't know what to say, she admits, breath hitching. Everything feels louder when it's just us. He tilts his head, brushing a strand of hair from her face, letting his fingers linger longer than necessary. You don't have to say anything, he whispers. Sometimes the quiet says more than words ever could. Her chest tightens at his nearness. She can feel the warmth radiating from his body, the subtle brush of his shoulder against hers, the faint scent of him, wood, rain, and something achingly familiar. Do you remember? He starts, voice low. That time at the autumn fair, when I almost... His words trail off, leaving the sentence unfinished, hanging like a promise in the air. Her breath catches, memories flooding in, the stolen glances, the hand almost touching hers, the sudden sparks that neither of them understood at the time. I remember, she whispers. I've never forgotten. He steps closer, the space between them shrinking until it's almost unbearable. Her pulse races, and her mind spins with conflicting thoughts, desire, fear, pride, hope, all tangling together in a dizzying knot. I've thought about that moment, he admits, voice barely audible, every single day, wondering if it could have been different, if we could have been. He hesitates, eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that steals her breath. She swallows hard, words failing her. The heat of his gaze presses into her, urging her forward, yet fear and caution root her in place. Maybe we still could, she whispers, voice trembling. He tilts his head, a slow, deliberate movement, closing the distance by mere inches. The warmth of his breath brushes her cheek, igniting a wildfire in her chest. She can feel the pull, magnetic and impossible to resist. Their lips hover, inches apart. She tastes the anticipation, feels it coil in her stomach, feel it surge through every nerve ending. Her fingers twitch, desperate to touch, to hold, to claim. But then, instinct and the remnants of pride halts her. She steps back slightly, heart hammering, eyes wide. I can't, she breathes. He freezes, a flicker of hurt passing through his eyes, replaced quickly by understanding. I know, he says softly, almost painfully gentle. I don't want to push you. Not tonight. Not like this. Her chest heaves, a mix of relief and longing, frustration and desire. It's just so close, she murmurs, voice shaking. It feels like we're on the edge of something we've waited years for, and yet we hesitate, he finishes for her, a quiet smile tugging at his lips. Because it matters. Because it's worth waiting for the right moment. She leans back slightly, her forehead resting against the cool glass of the window, trying to calm the storm inside her. But her gaze can't leave him. Every inch of his presence is etched into her senses, every unspoken word echoing through her chest. You make it so hard, she whispers, voice tinged with both exasperation and longing. He chuckles softly, a sound that reverberates through her, warm and inviting. I could say the same, he replies, voice low and intimate. Every time I see you, every time you smile, it's like gravity pulls me closer, whether I want it to or not. Her fingers twitch, almost reaching for him again, but restraint holds her back. And yet, she says quietly, we're still here, on this side of the line, watching, waiting, wondering if crossing it will change everything. He steps closer, careful, deliberate, until the warmth of his body brushes hers again. It will change everything, he admits, voice almost a whisper. But maybe that's what we need. Her heart races. The world narrows to the golden light, the cool glass, the warmth of his body, the undeniable pull between them. Desire coils like a spring, ready to snap, yet caution lingers, a tether holding them in this delicate, suspended moment. I'm scared, she confesses, voice barely audible. Scared that, if we cross it, there's no going back. He smiles softly, brushing his thumb across her knuckles, anchoring her trembling hand. Then let's not think about going back, he says gently. Let's just be here, now, together, even if it's just this moment. Her chest tightens, torn between the urge to close the final distance and the fear of the unknown. This is already so much, she whispers, voice trembling. It's more than I expected, more than I dared hope for. He leans closer, their foreheads nearly touching. And let's savor it, he murmurs. Every second, every breath, every heartbeat. For a heartbeat, maybe two, the world holds still. Time stretches, elastic and heavy, wrapping around them like a cocoon. Their eyes lock, breaths mingling, hearts pounding in tandem. The almost kiss hovers between them, electric and tantalizing, a promise that lingers in the air like a faint scent of rain lingering on the streets outside. And yet, the world intrudes, subtle and unrelenting. A distant laugh, the flicker of movement from the main hall, the echo of responsibility and consequence reminders that desire alone cannot dictate the course of their lives. She takes a step back, reluctantly, eyes not leaving his. Not yet, she whispers, voice thick with emotion. We will get there, but not like this. He nods slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. I understand, he murmurs, fingers brushing hers one last time. But know this. Every moment I wait, every second we delay, it's only making the inevitable stronger. Her heart pounds, a storm of longing and anticipation, as she watches him take a step back, giving them both space while holding the promise of what's to come. The corridor feels charged with electricity, the golden light flickering like a heartbeat, reflecting the unspoken desires, the restraint, and the raw intensity between them. The main hall shimmers under chandeliers, their soft light casting delicate patterns on the polished floor. The gentle hum of conversation mingles with the faint strains of a piano in the corner, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. She walks slowly among the guests, drink in hand, each step a careful balance between composure and the tremor of emotion she can't fully suppress. He appears beside her without warning, as if drawn by the invisible thread that has tied them together all night. You look luminous tonight, he murmurs, his voice low enough that only she can hear. She blushes, glancing away toward the crowd. I wasn't expecting compliments tonight, she replies, a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. I was expecting tension. He chuckles softly, a sound that wraps around her like warmth. Tension is part of the fun, isn't it? Makes the rare moments of peace even sweeter. They drift together through the hall, hands occasionally brushing, sending sparks of awareness up their arms. With each touch, a silent language forms a reassurance, a promise, a shared history unfolding in the smallest gestures. The piano music shifts to a softer, more intimate melody, and he leads her toward a secluded corner near a cluster of velvet curtains. Here, the world seems to shrink, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of warmth and quiet intimacy. I need to tell you something, he says, voice hesitant. Something I've kept hidden. Not because I wanted to, but because I was afraid. Her heart tightens, anticipation coiling in her chest. You can tell me anything, she whispers, her voice soft, almost reverent. You know that. He swallows, eyes flickering with an emotion she cannot name. Back in school, I wasn't always the person you knew. I made mistakes, decisions I regret. I've carried them for years, hoping to make amends, hoping to be someone worthy of. Someone like you. Her chest constricts, not from shock, but from the raw vulnerability in his confession. She reaches out, fingers brushing his arm. We all have pasts, she murmurs. It doesn't define who we are now. It's the present, and how we move forward that matters. He exhales slowly, relief softening his tense features. I want to move forward. With you, he admits, voice low and intimate. But I need you to understand what that means. I need you to know everything before we step further. Her hand finds his, interlacing fingers with an ease that feels natural, as if no time had ever passed between them. I want to know, she whispers. I want honesty. I want the truth, even if it scares me. He leans closer, the scent of him familiar, comforting, intoxicating, filling her senses. I was reckless in ways I can't undo, he says, voice breaking slightly. I hurt people I cared about, and I've lived with that every day, wondering if I'd ever deserve a second chance. And then I saw you tonight, and it hit me. I can't lose you before I even have the chance. Tears prick her eyes at the vulnerability, the raw honesty etched into every word. She steps closer, letting her forehead rest lightly against his. You won't lose me, she says softly. We're here now, and that's what matters. Everything else we'll face together. For a heartbeat, the world dissolves, the crowd, the whispers, the lingering shadows of the past. There is only them, hearts beating in tandem, breaths mingling, and a sense of intimacy that feels almost sacred. But the fragile peace is shattered by a sudden commotion near the entrance. A voice rises sharply above the music and chatter, cutting through the golden light like a knife. "You never told me the truth." Both of them turn toward the source. One of the former classmates, the one whose presence had haunted the hall earlier, stands with a smug, accusing expression. Behind her, a small group gathers, murmuring and pointing, the energy tense, charged with anticipation. "What truth?" she asks cautiously, glancing at him. He swallows hard, and for a moment, she sees fear flicker across his features. Fear that the past he tried to keep buried will unravel everything tonight. "It's complicated," he admits, voice tight. "But it's not what you think." The classmate laughs, sharp and biting. "Not what I think? You mean all those stories? The rumors about you? They're true? That's why you disappeared for so long, isn't it? Running from your mistakes?" Her heart hammers, tension wrapping around her chest. She can feel the unspoken implications, the assumptions, the judgments, the past threatening to undo the fragile trust they've been building tonight. He steps forward, jaw set, eyes fierce. "I made mistakes," he says, voice steady, resonant. "But I've faced them. I've learned. And none of it changes how I feel about her, or what we're building right now." She steps beside him, courage rising from the fire of their shared history and the connection they've nurtured. "We all have pasts," she says firmly, voice clear and unwavering. "And we all deserve the chance to be better, to grow, to love, without letting old rumors control our future." A tense silence falls over the hall. The whispers, the judgment, the murmurs, everything hangs suspended, waiting to see which way the scales will tip. Finally, the classmate scoffs, clearly frustrated at their defiance. "You think it's that simple?" She sneers. "That a few words can erase years of everything?" He shakes his head slowly, eyes locked on hers, the intensity of his gaze grounding her amidst the chaos. "It's never simple," he says softly. "But nothing worth having ever is." Her fingers tighten around his hand, a silent promise of solidarity and trust. "Then we face it," she whispers. Together. The tension eases slightly, but the hall feels charged with energy, like the calm before a storm. The chandeliers cast long, flickering shadows across the polished floor, reflecting the fragile hope they cling to, the vulnerability they've exposed, and the love daring to bloom amidst the turmoil. He tilts his head, a small, reassuring smile tugging at his lips. "Tonight, we've revealed so much," he murmurs. "Fears, regrets, truths. But we've also revealed us, and that is stronger than anything the past can throw at us." She exhales slowly, feeling the weight of his words sink into her bones. For a moment, there is calm, fragile, beautiful stillness where trust and vulnerability intertwine, binding them together in ways words alone cannot capture. But just as she leans into him, ready to savor the quiet intimacy, a sudden movement catches her eye. From the corner of the hall, a shadow detaches itself from the crowd, gliding toward them with a deliberate pace. She recognizes the figure immediately, and her heart stutters with anticipation, fear, and uncertainty. It's someone from his past, someone whose presence tonight threatens to unravel the fragile bond they've been nurturing. The air tightens, charged with tension, the golden light flickering across their faces as the shadow approaches, intentions unreadable but ominous. He senses her unease, turning slightly, eyes narrowing just enough to signal awareness without alarming her. "Stay close," he murmurs, his voice a low promise and a warning. She nods, breath catching, aware that the revelations of the night are far from over. Secrets have surfaced, truths have been told, and the fragile trust between them has grown stronger. But the storm beyond the golden lit walls is just beginning to rage. The hall has quieted, the earlier chaos settling into a soft hum of conversation and laughter. The chandeliers cast a warm amber glow, their reflections flickering across the polished floor. Music drifts from the corner where a small band plays a soft, melodic tune, something slow and deliberate, intimate enough to pull people closer, to invite confessions. She finds him across the room, standing with that familiar calm, the kind that steadies her even as her pulse races. His eyes catch hers, and the world narrows until there is nothing but the golden light and the space between them. Without a word, he holds out a hand, the gesture simple yet magnetic. "May I have this dance?" he asks, voice low, almost trembling with restrained desire. Her breath hitches, and she nods, sliding her hand into his. The warmth of his palm sends a jolt through her, igniting a thrill she cannot contain. They move toward the center of the hall, where the polished floor stretches like an open canvas for whatever story there. Hearts are ready to paint. The first steps are tentative, almost awkward, but there is an unspoken rhythm, a silent understanding that guides them. His hand on her back is steady, confident, yet gentle. Her fingers rest lightly on his shoulder, trembling slightly, betraying the mix of anticipation and nerves that coil tightly in her chest. "Slow," he murmurs, almost a whisper, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Just us. Nothing else." She nods, closing her eyes for a moment, letting the music guide them, letting his warmth anchor her. Every movement, every step, communicates more than words ever could. Apologies for past misunderstandings, confessions of longing, the quiet hope of a future together, all unfold in the sway of bodies in motion. They spin lightly, laughter escaping her lips at the unexpected joy of feeling so close, yet so aware of the distance still left between them. The almost kisses, the unspoken promises, all gather in the space between their gazes, electric and almost unbearable. "You know," he says softly, tilting his head so his lips are near her ear, "I've imagined this moment countless times, but never like this. Never with so much at stake." Her breath catches, warmth flooding her cheeks. "At stake?" she echoes, voice barely audible. "We've been through so much already. And now it feels like every choice, every step, carries weight." He nods, eyes never leaving hers. "Exactly. That's why I want this dance to mean something. To show you, to show myself, that we can choose each other, despite the past, despite the fear." Her fingers tighten slightly on his shoulder, the heat of his body against hers, grounding her. "And if the past isn't done with us?" she asks, voice trembling. "What if it keeps coming back, testing every decision we make?" He smiles faintly, a mixture of reassurance and resolve. "Then we face it. Together," he says. "Every step, every challenge. We face it side by side. That's the only way forward." The music swells, each note a delicate caress, and they move closer, bodies aligning, steps weaving a story of tentative trust and burgeoning desire. She feels his hand squeeze hers subtly, a reminder of his presence, his commitment, his silent plea to believe. They glide across the floor, slow and deliberate, yet every step carries intensity. She can feel the pulse of his heart in sync with hers, the rhythm of desire and hope merging into a language only they understand. For a moment, the room disappears. The chandeliers, the whispers, the shadows of judgment, they vanish into nothing, leaving only the two of them suspended in a bubble of golden light and music. "I never thought we'd be here," she whispers, voice soft, almost a prayer. "After everything? To feel this, to feel you." He leans closer, forehead brushing against hers, and his breath fans across her lips. "Neither did I," he admits. "But here we are. And I won't let anything, anyone take this from us." Her heart races. caught between the urge to surrender completely and the fear of losing herself in the intensity of the moment. "I want that too," she breathes, "but sometimes desire feels fragile, like it could shatter if we're not careful." He tilts his head, brushing his lips gently against her temple, a tender, intimate gesture that leaves her breathless. "Then we hold it carefully," he whispers. "Protect it. Nurture it. Let it grow stronger with each choice we make." The music shifts slightly, a pause between notes that feels like a heartbeat, as she realizes how much this dance mirrors their lives. Every step, a decision. Every sway, a negotiation of hope and fear. Every spin, a chance to risk falling into each other completely or stepping back to protect fragile hearts. She closes her eyes, letting the moment stretch, savoring the warmth, the closeness, the electricity coiling around them. "I think I'm ready," she whispers, voice barely audible. "Ready to take the risk. To trust you. To trust us." His eyes shine with a mix of relief and longing, a silent promise that this is a shared journey. "And let's step forward together," he murmurs. No looking back, just forward. Hand in hand, they move as one, a perfect, imperfect harmony of hearts and desire. The slow sway becomes a little faster, more assured. The golden light wraps around them, shadows dancing across the floor as if celebrating their courage. Yet even as the intimacy deepens, the world outside the dance floor waits, full of whispers, judgments, and the remnants of past mistakes. Their hearts beat in tandem, but the edges of reality, the looming decisions, the external pressures linger like a shadow over their golden bubble. She senses it, a twinge of unease, and he notices too. His hand tightens around hers, a subtle reassurance. "Whatever comes next," he whispers, "we face it, together, every choice, every consequence. Together." She nods, heart swelling with a mixture of hope and fear. "Together," she echoes, letting the word anchor her as they move, step by step, into the future they're daring to build. The music slows, the notes fading into a gentle hush. Their bodies still aligned, faces close but not touching, eyes locked in a conversation of longing and commitment. The hall seems to hold its breath, suspended in the fragile balance between desire fulfilled and the uncertainty of what lies ahead. And then, just as the last note trails into silence, a sudden announcement rings out from the other side of the hall, a reminder of obligations, of expectations, of the world beyond their golden bubble. "Attention, everyone. May I have your attention, please?" The spell of the dance shatters slightly. Conversations rise again, whispers return, and the gentle intimacy of the moment becomes charged with tension, anticipation, and the inevitability of choice. The night has settled into a quiet hum. Outside, the city lights flicker faintly, painting the glass walls with reflections that merge the real with the imagined. Inside, the halls are dimly lit, the chandeliers casting a soft golden glow that shivers across polished floors. She stands close to the glass, fingertips brushing the cool surface, watching shadows shift inside the hall next door. Figures move, laughter echoing faintly, tensions unresolved. Through the glass, the night feels like a suspended reality, both tangible and fragile, mirroring the emotions that twist within her chest. He approaches silently, his presence grounding her, even as the world blurs around them. "It feels strange," he murmurs, leaning beside her. "Like we're here, but not fully part of what's happening." Watching the past collide with the present, she exhales slowly, eyes tracing the movements of familiar faces through the reflection. "Everything feels amplified," she says. "The mistakes, the regrets, the longing. It's all clearer now, even though we're separated by this glass." His hand finds hers on the smooth surface, fingers intertwining naturally. The warmth of him against the coolness of the glass sends a shiver through her. Maybe that's the point, he whispers. To see things clearly before we decide. How to step forward. To know what we're willing to fight for. Her gaze meets his in the reflection, and for a moment they are two silhouettes mirrored in gold and shadow, suspended in the quiet intimacy of shared understanding. I've never felt anything this intense, she admits, voice low, almost vulnerable. Like my heart is both terrified and alive at the same time. He turns to face her fully, eyes shining in the soft light. That's love, he says gently. Not the easy kind. The kind that shakes you, scares you, and forces you to choose. Again and again, she swallows hard, the weight of his words settling in her chest. And what if we make the wrong choice? She asks, fingers tightening around his. What if stepping forward means we break everything? He brushes a strand of hair from her face, his touch lingering on her cheek. Then we face the consequences, he says firmly. Together. Because I can't imagine taking this step without you by my side. They lean closer, breaths mingling, the glass between them both a barrier and a bridge. Outside, the sounds of the hall echoes of past grudges, laughter, and whispered confessions seep into their bubble of quiet intimacy. But here, in this moment, all else fades. I want to believe we can make it, she whispers, eyes locked on his. That what we have is stronger than all the noise around us. He nods, pressing a gentle kiss to her temple, a gesture of reassurance, of grounding. We can, he murmurs. But we have to be brave, braver than we've ever been. Her heart hammers, a mixture of fear and anticipation. I am, she says, voice firm despite the tremor she feels. I want to be brave. With you. The music from the other hall drifts faintly through the walls, a soft, melodic reminder that life continues outside their quiet world. She watches as couples sway, hands clasped, hearts exposed, and it mirrors the unspoken longing they both feel, the desire for closeness, tempered by caution. A shadow moves through the hall next door, figure she doesn't recognize pausing near the edge of the light. Her brow furrows. Who is that? She asks, unease prickling at her spine. He glances through the glass, frowning. Someone new, he says softly. Or perhaps someone from the past, trying to rewrite the present. His hand squeezes hers, grounding her against the sudden surge of uncertainty. She leans into him instinctively, letting the warmth of his body shield her from the creeping tension. I don't want the past to touch us, she murmurs. Not now. Not after everything we've gone through tonight. He brushes her hair behind her ear, thumb lingering against her cheek. It doesn't have to, he says, voice soft, deliberate. We can choose what matters, who matters. And right now, it's us. Only us. We decide what the next step is. Her lips part, ready to respond. But the reflection in the glass catches something else, an interaction across the hall that freezes her blood. A gesture, a word, subtle yet sharp, threatens to ignite tension that had been carefully contained. He notices her change in expression and follows her gaze. We can't control everything, he murmurs, but we can control each other. We can control us. She swallows, letting the truth of his words settle. I want that, she says softly. Even if the world outside this glass is chaotic, I want us. He nods, leaning closer, foreheads touching. Then let's step through together, he whispers. No hesitation, no fear. Just us, and the choices we make. The glass between them reflects their faces, hearts illuminated in the golden light, but it also distorts the edges, blurring the world beyond. Past mistakes, gossip, unspoken grievances all linger in the periphery, threatening to seep into their fragile bubble of intimacy. She traces a finger along the line of his jaw, memorizing the warmth, the contour, the closeness that feels like sanctuary. "Promise me," she breathes, "that we won't let anything come between us." "Not tonight, not ever." He smiles faintly, the curve of his lips tinged with seriousness and longing. "I promise," he says. "We face it all together, whatever comes." A subtle vibration shakes the hall voices rising from the other side of the glass. Laughter and argument mingled, the inevitable reality of the night encroaching. But in this quiet corner, against the barrier of glass, they are untouchable. Yet the world outside waits, patient and unyielding. She leans into him, resting her head against his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heartbeat beneath her ear. "It's strange," she murmurs, "how something as fragile as glass can feel like a shield and a mirror at the same time." He chuckles softly, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "It shows us ourselves," he says, "and it reminds us what we're choosing. Not the past, not the chaos, but each other. That's the magic of it." She closes her eyes, breathing him in, letting the golden warmth of the chandeliers and the strength of their shared heartbeat fill her. "Then let's be brave," she whispers. "Let's step forward, no matter what waits for us outside this glass." His lips brush her temple once more, a silent agreement, a grounding force. "Together," he murmurs. "Always." The music swells faintly in the hall beyond, and through the glass, shadows move closer, voices grow louder, and the night inches toward inevitable confrontation. The fragile bubble they've built threatens to break, yet their hands remain entwined, hearts aligned, and determination shimmering in their eyes. The air between the halls feels charged, thick with tension that buzzes like static. From her vantage point near the glass wall, she watches the chaos unfold, breaths coming shallow and fast. Voices rise, carrying words she never imagined she'd hear again. Words sharpened by old wounds and unspoken resentment. He steps beside her, jaw tight, eyes stormy. "I didn't expect him to confront us here," he mutters, voice low but taut with suppressed emotion. She glances at him, heart clenching. "Expecting anything tonight would have been foolish," she replies, tone brittle but determined. "But I didn't think it would feel like this." So raw, so immediate. Through the glass, she sees the figure approach someone from their past, someone whose opinions had always carried weight, whose judgments once seemed uncheckable. The hallway feels smaller, suffocating, yet her pulse races with adrenaline, her emotions a tangle of fear, anticipation, and an undeniable spark she cannot ignore. He catches her gaze and squeezes her hand. "Whatever happens," he says quietly, "we face it together. No backing down." She nods, swallowing the lump in her throat. Together. The word tastes like hope and defiance all at once. Confrontation begins as a volley of sharp words, each syllable laced with accusation and pride. She winces, heart twisting, as past misunderstandings surface like ghosts she thought were long buried. But she refuses to step back. "Do you even understand what's happening here?" She hears herself say, voice firm but trembling slightly. "Do you know what it means to stand apart and still care? To fight for something no one else sees?" He looks at her, eyes widening slightly, as if hearing her soul speak through the words. "I see it," he says, his voice breaking the rhythm of the argument. "I've always seen it. And I won't let anyone anything make me doubt what we have." The tension spikes, a combustible mixture of fear, longing, and defiance. Their eyes meet across the room, each glance a challenge and a plea, demanding understanding without compromise. She takes a deep breath, stepping closer, breaking the invisible barrier that had held her in cautious observation. "Then why do we hesitate?" she asks, voice almost a whisper. "Why does fear still have this much power over us?" He moves toward her, closing the small distance, and she can feel the heat radiating off him, a magnetic pull she cannot resist. Because fear, he murmurs, is the only thing keeping our hearts from shattering. But I'd rather risk breaking than live without knowing. Her chest tightens, the words cutting through layers of insecurity and doubt. She wants to respond, to reach out and erase every hesitation, every shadow lingering between them. Instead, she lets the tension hang, heavy and charged, until it almost vibrates against her skin. The figure from the other hall steps closer, voice rising, intent clear. Yet it feels distant, a muffled echo compared to the storm of emotions swirling between them. She realizes, with startling clarity, that nothing outside this moment matters. Only him, only now. A laugh escapes her, sharp and incredulous, tinged with relief. "We're ridiculous," she says, eyes gleaming despite the chaos. Fighting, arguing, almost letting the world tear us apart. And yet, here we are. He smiles faintly, a wry, tired curve of lips that still makes her heart leap. "Ridiculous," he agrees, shaking his head. "But maybe that's what makes this real. The way we fight, the way we hurt. It proves that we care, that we're alive." Their hands find each other again, fingers curling, holding on through the storm. Every glance, every breath shared, carries weight. The hall's lights flicker, reflecting golden sparks across their faces, as if illuminating the intensity of their connection. "Do you feel it?" she asks softly. This push and pull?" He leans closer, lips brushing her ear. "Every second," he whispers. "And it's terrifying. And wonderful. And I wouldn't trade it for anything." The argument from the other hall escalates briefly, but they are no longer participants in it. Their hearts beat to a rhythm of their own making desire. Frustration, longing, and the deep, unshakable pulse of love that neither time nor fear can erase. "I don't want to run anymore," she confesses, voice low, trembling. "I don't want to hide from what I feel. Not with you. Not tonight." He tilts his head, searching her eyes, as if memorizing every flicker of emotion, every hidden truth. "Then don't," he says simply. "Stand with me. Fight with me. Love me without restraint." She laughs softly, a sound that blends joy and relief, and it echoes between them like a promise. "I will," she says, pressing her forehead to his. "I will fight, and I will love. No holding back. No more walls." His arms wrap around her, steady and warm, anchoring her to the present, shielding her from the weight of the world outside. "Then we're unstoppable," he murmurs, the words both defiant and tender. They move closer, the electricity between them igniting into something palpable, something neither fear nor pride can contain. The hall seems to shrink around them, shadows and light painting a scene of intimacy, vulnerability, and raw honesty. "I was afraid," she admits, voice muffled against his chest. "Afraid of losing you, of losing myself in the chaos." He presses a kiss to her hair, fingers threading through hers. "And I was afraid," he whispers back. "Afraid of being vulnerable, of admitting that this use means more than anything else. But fear doesn't matter now. Not when we're here." A sudden laugh from the hall next door breaks the tension momentarily, sharp and teasing, as if the world is mocking their intensity. She pulls back slightly, brushing her nose against his, eyes shining. "Do you think we can survive this?" She asks, half serious, half playful. He grins, that reckless, determined grin that always makes her pulse quicken. "We don't just survive," he says. "We thrive." Hearts collide, sparks fly, and we embrace it. Every messy, chaotic, beautiful part of it. She laughs, breathless, letting the tension dissolve into something lighter, more exhilarating. "Then let's collide," she says, voice firm and daring. and see where this takes us. Their lips meet in a tentative brush, soft at first, exploring, testing boundaries. Then, as the world outside continues its noisy parade, the kiss deepens urgent, consuming, a release of all the words they never said, all the desires they couldn't voice. Time seems to stretch, elongating the moment until it becomes infinite. The heat, the closeness, the raw honesty of their connection wraps them in a cocoon, impenetrable and yet fragile. Every heartbeat, every breath shared, is a declaration. We are here. We are now. We are together. The sounds of the other hall fade into background noise, insignificant compared to the storm within them. Pride, fear, old grudges, they vanish under the weight of shared vulnerability, replaced by the electric certainty of love that refuses to be denied. They part slightly, foreheads touching, breaths mingling, and she smiles, tears pricking the corners of her eyes. I don't want to lose this, she whispers. You won't, he says firmly. Not if we keep choosing each other. Every time, every day, the world outside the hall is waiting, filled with judgment, chaos, and the remnants of the past. But in this golden-lit corner, in the echo of their laughter and the warmth of their embrace, they are invincible. For the first time tonight, the future feels like something they can shape. The night has finally breathed itself into silence. The music, the laughter, the confrontations all echoes now drifting like dust across the polished floors. Light from the chandeliers stretches across the empty halls, golden and tender, casting long shadows that dance with the memories of the evening. She walks slowly through the hall, the air rich with faint scents of perfume and old wood, a lingering trace of the night's emotions. Her fingers graze the edge of the tables, brushing against the remnants of confetti, half-empty glasses, and the faint sparkle of candlelight. Every detail pulls her into reflection, reminding her of the journey she has endured, the choices, the confrontations, the near misses of connection, and the quiet victories of the heart. He steps beside her, shoulders brushing lightly, each movement carrying the weight of shared experiences. It's quieter than I expected, he says, voice low, almost reverent. Like the world is holding its breath, waiting for us to finally speak. She turns to him, eyes shimmering with unshed tears, a mixture of relief and vulnerability. Maybe it's always been this quiet between us, she murmurs. We just didn't hear it before. The words, the feelings. They were there, waiting. He offers a small smile, tender and knowing. And now we can finally say them, without fear, without interruption. Her lips curve in a soft, bittersweet smile. I forgive, she says, voice steady. I forgive the past, the misunderstandings, and the times we hurt each other without meaning to. And I want this. Her hand brushes his chest lightly. I want us. His hand finds hers, thumb tracing lazy circles against her palm, grounding both of them in the present. I forgive too, he says, voice thick with emotion. I've carried regret, pride, and hesitation. All of it fades when I look at you now. I see only you, only what we could be together. The warmth of his words envelops her, a blanket against the chill of the empty hall. Their steps fall into a natural rhythm, walking side by side, hearts slowly sinking with every breath. Each glance, each touch, speaks louder than words ever could. They reach the glass wall that once separated the halls, reflections catching the golden light and the ghosts of the night. She presses her forehead gently against the cool surface, seeing their mirrored images, two souls that have collided, fought, and now, perhaps, finally aligned. I remember standing here before, she whispers, voice fragile. The fear, the distance. We could barely look at each other. And now, it feels like we've crossed an ocean to be here. He cups her face softly, thumb brushing against her cheek. We did, He agrees, eyes shining. Every fight, every confession, every near miss, it was all leading us here. To this moment, where nothing else matters but us. She laughs softly, a sound of relief and uncontainable joy, and he smiles, that slow, deep smile that makes her heart ache in the best way. We've earned this, haven't we? She murmurs. We've fought for it, he says, pressing his forehead to hers. And we never gave up, even when it seemed impossible, even when fear wanted to push us apart. We kept choosing each other. Her hand travels along the line of his jaw, memorizing every contour, every detail. I was so scared, she admits, voice low and trembling. Scared that we wouldn't survive the night, that we'd lose this chance. But I wasn't scared of you. Never of you. He smiles softly, brushing his lips against her temple. And I was terrified of losing you. Terrified that I wouldn't have the courage to show you how much I care. But here we are, and I won't let go. The quiet of the hall becomes their sanctuary, a cocoon against the world outside. Shadows stretch long across the floors, catching the shimmer of the chandeliers and turning the emptiness into a canvas for their hearts. I've been holding back, she admits, leaning into him. Afraid of being vulnerable, afraid that showing everything would break us. But now, her voice trails, breath hitching with anticipation. Now, he prompts gently, lips brushing against her hair. Now, she says firmly, tilting her head up to meet his gaze. I'm ready. Ready for everything. The love, the pain, the joy. All of it. As long as it's with you. He smiles, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Then let's not waste another second, he murmurs, voice rich with longing. Let's start this. Together. No hesitation, no fear. Her eyes glimmer in the golden light, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. I want that, she whispers. I've never wanted anything more. And then they move closer, the distance between them dissolving in a heartbeat. Their lips meet in a kiss, soft at first, hesitant, savoring the moment that has been long anticipated. Then it deepens, urgent and consuming, a release of months of tension, longing, and unspoken devotion. Hands roam gently, memorizing, anchoring, holding. The kiss becomes more than a meeting of lips. It is a promise, a vow, a declaration that despite fear, doubt, and past obstacles, they have chosen each other. When they finally part, foreheads resting together, breaths mingling, the world outside feels distant. The halls, the empty chairs, the lingering shadows, they all fade into insignificance. All that remains is the undeniable truth of their connection. I've never felt this. Complete, she murmurs, voice trembling with awe and relief. Like everything that came before tonight led me exactly here to you. He brushes his nose against hers, smiling softly. And I, he whispers, have never known love until this moment. Never known what it means to be fully seen, fully understood, and fully loved. She laughs softly, tears glinting in the warm light. Then let's promise, she says, fingers tightening around his, that no matter what happens outside these halls, we hold on to this. We hold on to us. He nods, pressing his lips gently to the back of her hand. Always, he says. This is ours. And nothing can take it from us. They walk slowly toward the exit, hands clasped, hearts beating in perfect rhythm. Outside, the night air is crisp, carrying whispers of possibilities and futures yet to be written. Their reflection lingers in the glass for a moment longer, two silhouettes standing side by side, unbroken, unafraid, and ready for whatever comes next. A soft breeze stirs, carrying with it the faint scent of rain from earlier, a reminder that storms pass, leaving clarity and growth in their wake. She leans against him, head resting on his shoulder. It feels like a new beginning, she says. He kisses the top of her head, wrapping her in warmth. It is, he agrees. For us, for everything we've fought for, and for every choice we'll make together. The hall falls silent behind them, but the light in their eyes, the warmth in their hands, and the quiet strength of their joined hearts illuminate the space more vividly than any chandelier ever could.